Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, and today I have for you a 2 versus 2, yes indeed 2 versus 2, on the fields of Duclair, near the city of Duclair, near the river Seine, or something like that. At least that's where the map is supposed to be. Of course, we'll just sort of imagine it's somewhere else, because, well, otherwise there's going to be an awful lot of fights near Duclair, which doesn't quite make sense either. Nonetheless, a 2 versus 2, it's Monday Novice fight. Yes, indeed, of course, I've been sort of wondering, well, what should I cast? I've got a lot of games, a lot of sort of this type of games, a lot of this type. But then I decided on a sort of more interesting 2 versus 2 fight, or at least for the Monday Novice bit, one which is actually featuring a lot of high-ranking players, and where some of them are not quite playing according to rank. But then again, this is 2 versus 2, where there can be some sort of troubles with the actual 2 versus 2 ranks. I'll sort of leave that for you to figure out who's actually probably in dire need of a beating and a expedient trip to the Eastern Front. But who shall of course be fighting? Well, it shall be Sislor, it shall be ex-USSA, it shall be the Weasel and Stalin's rechte Hoden, Stalin's right hand, if I'm not mistaken. These combined make the Allies. Fighting for the 30th Infantry Division, going up with them shall be, well, I don't know, let's just imagine for once. Oh dear, what could fit them? What could fit these lovely gentlemen? Perhaps, let's just say the 5th Panzer Division, yes indeed, fought in Normandy, although I'm not quite sure where. 5th Panzer Division, or at least parts of it, going up against the 30th Infantry Division right here, and let us get right to it. And of course, a 2 versus 2 game is a rather different aspect than a 1 versus 1. Of course, you need to actually coordinate, but you also need to actually be able to combine a useful force that can fight on its own. And that's where a lot of 2 versus 2 players actually tend to go wrong in town. They tend to sort of begin, well, I'm figuring, well, I just do one thing, then my teammate will do all the fighting, and then of sort of they casually forget that if they're all doing the supporting, then their teammate will get ground down and brutally beaten, and then they're sort of left on their own. Or of course they might get 2 aggressive players with, for example, 2 barracks, who of course focus them down and then leave the other player to get beaten down. There's a lot of things then. Of course it requires some sort of ability to actually work together, but also, and this is of course the very important bit, I'd say, from actually learning to play 1 versus 1, so something like that is, creating a force that can stand on its own and face a series of threats and live up to a certain amount of tasks and abilities. And problem again is that's not what's happening, and of course to a certain degree you can see some players rather getting away with riding along other people's coattails, sort of all of a sudden they're ranked 16 and then they think they're all so great. In reality they probably are in dire need of a beating and a good stout lesson in tactics and strategy. But rather than getting around here, we are of course going to see a rather aggressive start from the Americans. From the Wehrmacht we are seeing an MG42 and a Volksgrenadier team. At least Sislor seems to be having an idea of what to do with all of this. Of course, question is, well, will the MG42 be setting up? What shall he be trying to guard? Perhaps this house? We'll be able to actually cover a nice amount of area. It looks like the Wehrmacht does have a rather keen focus on this. The other part is more spreading out, and looks like these engineers might run into some problem with the Volksgrenadiers. Opening up, the engineers getting close to the cover, the Volksgrenadiers as well. However, shall this go? Who shall win this fight du jour? And Ratman are moving in. One engineer down, another engineer down, and a Volksgrenadier in fact goes down to the MG submachine gun fire from the riflemen, and these riflemen are able to get close. And of course, one thing to note, and we'll just briefly pause this, was the squad leader who went down. Each team usually has a squad leader of all types. And what does this mean? It means he's usually one either fighting, in the case of the Americans, with a slightly less great weapon, so losing him, not so bad. For the Wehrmacht though, for the Volksgrenadiers, he actually has the best weapon, and losing him is actually a pretty huge loss for the entire unit. And if he goes down, this suddenly become a lot less effective. In this case, of course, they're probably going to end up in a lot of trouble very soon, because they simply cannot compete at all now with the Rifleman team up close. MG42 getting supported by Bike. Pioneers fighting off against some engineers. Riflemen making a hazardous run forward. Another Rifleman team ready. Volksgrenadiers, of course, forced away with heavy losses and barely any damage to the Riflemen. Again, that's what the whole losing a squad leader can do for a Wehrmacht Volksgrenadier team. Also interesting to note, there's a very wide front already here from our friend ex-USSA, and as you might already notice, he can't really hold that all, and of course there's a very specific pair of weak points right there. So of course if Raz there, he's certainly going to be able to trouble, and of course he won't be able to really fully react to it because he doesn't quite have the mobility in it, and he's getting a second MG42. He's really not helping himself, I'd argue. Volksgrenadiers facing off against the Riflemen. Riflemen in heavy cover, Volksgrenadiers not quite in heavy cover. Pioneer team is lost, trying to lay down barbed wire. Weren't fast enough, MG42 opening up. Pioneers need to get away, ex-USSA. Get your Pioneers out of there, you stupid bastard. And for some reason, no idea why Sisler kept his units in light cover versus units in heavy cover. Now these Volksgrenadiers are going to end in a very large amount of trouble. And Sisler, I believe, is actually ranked 13. Another Volksgrenadier team ready again after being reinforced. More Pioneers coming out from ex-USSA. And the Volksgrenadier team was apparently lost. Was that another Pioneer team? Something was certainly lost. Small fight here. Not looking too good. Riflemen charging at the Volksgrenadiers, but Volksgrenadiers supported by Pioneers are able to do a bit of damage. Although these Volksgrenadiers need to retreat, and there we go, making a hurried run for it, and in the meanwhile breaking through here, Riflemen getting suppressed. Further Riflemen though moving in, MG42 covering. This could be what a lead ex-USSA needs for at least a brief while, and of course nice coordination between the two while the Weasel rather realizes he's actually having a bit of a nice easy time up here in the north. He actually decides to help Stalin's Rectorhofen, which is running a bit into trouble with crashing right into the MG42s. Of course, question is how long until they actually discover that, oh wait, there's a pretty nice spot right there. MG42 sitting up there, perhaps not the entirely best position. A lot of buildings blocking lines of fire, allowing for some nasty flanking if it is not careful. Bike moving in, and looks like though in this case it actually won out. Of course right here it's only able to cover through there, and there's in fact absolutely nothing covering this area. And of course that means it has to move through there, and of course which could mean the Americans could move through here. I mean, it's not the entirely best disposition of forces. And there's no infantry out actually from ex-USSA, who's now getting a Krieg barracks, but so far only MG42s and a bike. Sniper out from Sisler pushing on with his Volksgrenadiers, now with an MG42 as well. Engineers under fire, and not really looking good for them either. In fact, there's now currently being driven rather a wedge between the two forces. Pioneers and bike facing off against Riflemen right here in the west. Flamethrowers and the Pioneers are in fact going down, forced away by the Riflemen. Bike trying to support, but in this case not quite achieving as much as it actually could. MG42 watching this area. And looks like some Pioneers advancing, and looks like the Americans are in fact spotting the nice bit right here. A low fuel point. Nice to harass, and of course meaning they will cut off all of this already rather limited Wehrmacht amount of territory.
Losing ground out there.
Due to the rather vertical decision to sort of move through here along the edges of the map rather than push inwards. And of course secure territory that way. Currently not really working. Of course, it's rather also giving them a rather wide frontage, which again they can't defend. Grenadiers are moving in, which might be able to stop the engineers. So will the engineers be able to cut it off? Yes, indeed, rendered neutral, running away. And this, of course, means what little territory ex-USSA has, of course, been able to seize with his rather limited force is already being removed. Sniper forced away, MG42 stopping Riflemen. Of course, the deep flanking might put a stop to this. No, the Jeep just continues on the hunt for the sniper, the sharpshooter. Volksgrenadiers on their own, facing off against a rather large horde of Riflemen, not doing too well either. Again, not the best of Wehrmacht play we're seeing here. Certainly several mistakes that could have been rectified, but at least he's able to keep this MG42 going. But of course, there's too many targets getting hit from all sides. Browning automatic rifles for Stalin's Rectorhofen. The MG42 hit from all sides. Need to retreat. Run away. Run away. Oh dear. The MG42 team barely makes it out of there alive. He must be praising his gods. And well, meanwhile, the rest of the forces of Sislo are reinforcing. Looks like a Pack 30 is ready. Kampfkraft Center out. Grenadiers with Panzer not moving up. More barbed wire here, and they, of course, the hopes of seizing off this area, but of course a bit of barbed wire cutting, and that's going to be open again. So I can't really help that ex-USSA here is only really doing himself a disfavor in a sense. And of course now they're just going for the absolute weak point right here, having spotted it already. MG42 right here trying to cover, of course, but it's not quite able to do so and can't actually cover this point. And the Grenadiers aren't doing anything to actually stop this. This is absolutely amazing. And rather than getting stopped by the second MG42, at least they will be soon, but still won't be able to stop this. This is not good, and Americans are taking away what little is left for Sisler, who's not really pushing forward, but at least he's keeping his troops together now. Although he's now climbing up next to a point. Oh, Sisler, why do you have to be so sizzling bad? What about the Weasel? What is he up to? He just has a lot of riflemen. He's now getting he's getting a jeep. He has lots of riflemen, also with Browning automatic rifles. In fact, there's a lot of Browning automatic rifles for everyone. They're really increasing the infantry firepower, and if it wasn't for the fact the Wehrmacht has so little territory, they might actually decide for else. But then again, there's not a lot of territory, there's not a lot of fuel, not a lot of anything. Which of course is giving the Americans some more time to focus on the infantry, on the early pressure. Rather than of course having to worry about getting armoured cars and all the likes. So of course, very important bit right there. And really denying the Wehrmacht a lot of valuable territory, a lot of valuable resources. And again, the disposition they're sort of trying to attain isn't really helping them. I mean, this position of defense, not really very strong. You can't really cover a lot as such. And they're not pushing forwards. I mean, really, that's ex-USSA's really huge, largest problem. He's not moving forwards. He's constantly just standing back in a very small sliver of territory. And that's not helping him one tiny bit. And of course, he's having trouble protecting that. I mean, really, that is something you have to really be careful about. He doesn't have any actual maneuver element. He doesn't have a lot of infantry, and what he has, of course, isn't being used properly. Of course, Sisler is doing a bit better, but the trouble is he's sort of shifting it about, splitting up too much, and choosing the wrong type of cover. And now Volkswagen is being faced off against Rifleman with BARs. He really needs to go for something beyond Volksgrenadiers. He needs to get Krieg barracks up, get a Sturmarmy up. He needs to get something. In fact, if either player was to get a Sturmarmy, perhaps a Puma, that might be helpful. Rifleman facing off here. Of course, MG4 has to close this flank. And looks like a mortar is up for Stallinsrecht the Horten, figuring he might want to get some mortar fire. Oh dear, he's actually bombarding this house. This is looking pretty bad for ex-USSA. Well, looking worse than already is. MG42 forced away. Veterancy 1 for the MG42 sniper firing away. Rifleman getting stopped, of course. More riflemen moving in for a flank on this position. And charging through here. Really good aggression. Mines laid down to actually protect and delay the Wehrmacht seizure of territory. And sniper getting rushed by the rifleman with BARs. But looks like the sniper is able to get away. Flanked by the rifleman. Stopped by the MG42. Quite fortunate there. But the riflemen right by the flank are still alive. Oh dear. And the Wehrmacht's position in the north by Sisler absolutely crumbles. We're now seeing a Kriegsbanning up for him. No attempt at actually salvaging this jeep. Rifleman holding out here, and a half-track is ready, but its guns are not manned. It's not manned at all. And finally moving through here, pushing through. By Jove, that's about bloody time. But there's actually no attempt at actually seizing down the American forces and do some damage. And of course, they're still not able to protect this area. I mean, really, they've left this huge gap in their defensive lines, which really should be where their defenses are centered rather than out here at the peripheries. I mean, this isn't really good. They're basically continuing themselves up to getting flanked, or at least cut off. And now, of course, MG42 is too close to a building with nothing in them. And of course, Flamethrower immediately clears out everything right from BARs. This is, oh dearie me, ex-USSA, you are definitely not laying up to the whole rank 16 bit at all, one slight bit. And no attempt to actually get into the half-track, which would actually be a very good use in such a high maneuver situation, you know, where everybody's attacking from all flanks. The half-track could help. And no attempt at actually clearing out this mortar either. There's been no attempt, despite it's pretty much out in the open. They have a half-track, which could get them there quickly, but no, apparently not. Rifleman team looks like to have actually gone down. It's time to have a look at Sisler. Sizzling for the Sizzle match. Volksgrenadiers and Grenadiers pushing through in the north. Quite a bit of forces, quite a bit of tail of everything. 3 Volksgrenadier teams, a Grenadier team, a sniper, an MG42, and lots of pioneers with flamethrowers. No population because, again, lacking of territory and control of the territory. Rather than getting stopped, mortar rounds keep flying down here because, again, no attempt at stopping that mortar. Again, much too passive from ex-USSA. Apparently he's expecting Sisler to do all the work, and Sisler, of course, can't do all the work because, well, he just can't. Particularly when he's constantly lacking territory because ex-USSA is not providing any or even protecting the bit he has. Again, all to the rather faulty strategy of not establishing a defensive line around this point. Instead, right here where, you know, it's much too easy to just outflank and then go through here. And of course, that's the clever bit about the Americans. They aren't just directly crashing their head into the defensive lines. They're actually sort of constantly harassing forces on all of this to constantly move about, which is going to make it much harder for XUSA to effectuate a decent defense. Of course, they're just cutting off, denying any amount of resources they could have, and now attacking from every angle. Oh dear, the MG-42 is having to set up, and oh dear, grenades used. This is absolutely madness, and there's still no one manning the guns of the half-track. I mean, this is just terrible. You have a half-track, but you're not manning the guns of it. Why not? They could have stopped this. All of this could actually easily suppressed and provide a lot of fire support, but no. And again, the absolutely amazing bit is this guy is again rank 16. I have absolutely no idea how he managed this. But clearly, and there we go, half-track lost. He does have a mortar, but he's just suffered huge losses. Several MG-42s gone. Pak-38 gone. Half-track gone. And now Sizzler's just sort of standing about, rather wondering, oh crap, what did my teammate now do? And he, of course, has a much larger force. He's actually able to hold some territory and actually push forwards. And there's rather a huge difference, you know, whole, support and having some infantry elements bit. XUSA was actually rather swiftly squished, whereas, Sizzler was actually able to provide a bit of a threat. Has also gone defensive, it looks like. Absolutely no idea what, Mr. XUSA has gone for. Volkswagen is trying to do the best, getting grenaded now. Stalin's to hold, getting grenades, just further increasing the firepower of his rifle. Absolutely devious, absolutely insane grenades moving forward, trying to retake what little they can, but again, this is just, oh dearie me. Keep moving forwards, could get Panzer checked, could get away. And looks like Sizzler is actually moving ahead now. This is good, but still no mines here. Only mines from the Weasel, which have still not been discovered or trod upon. Mortars firing, engineers and grenadiers and riflemen facing off. American mortar still proving to be quite a nuisance to kill so far, though. Riflemen forced away from the center. And a jeep just sneaking through here in the north. Sneaky jeep.
We are losing ground.
Kampfkraft center now up for Sizzler as well. Still no attempt, perhaps reaching a Sturm, perhaps getting a Puma, a Stug, or a Nebelwerfer. I really think they should perhaps, go for something that might give them more slightly, technological advantage. In this case, mortar still firing away. Troops getting stopped by the seized MG-42. Thus denying Sizzler all of his forces. And of course, at the same time, the Weasel is now leading a major pronged assault right through the north, escaping all of his defenses right here in the center. Not really clearly placed. A medic bunker with an MG-42 and a Pioneer with a flamethrower in it. Version 2 on the way for the infantry. And XUSA not really able to support much either. Bombarding the MG-42. Let's go have a look at him, see what he's up to. No doctrine as of yet. Going for the battle phase, going for the Panzer command. Something, though, tells me he'll probably not be getting much out of it, and actually it's time for the mid-game analysis. What is the current situation? Well, currently they're sort of a half-half in terms of the map, but as you might have noticed, the Americans are making a huge assault through the north, and there's absolutely nothing to do with it, because currently all of Sizzler's troops are back in his base, because, well, he had to do some actual attacking, because, well, guess who didn't actually do his job properly, and of course rather gave up any sort of territory they had in the west. Of course, that's rather apparently XUSA's problem, his major fault. He can't really make a decent assault, and he's constantly being beaten back by the rather aggressive forces of the Weasel and Stalin's Rechte Hoden. Not really good, now is it? No. So clearly the Americans will, I imagine, turn this around quickly. Of course, if either could get a heavy armored Cutter Stug or even a simple Panzer IV, they might be able to turn things around. I mean, even he could now go Blitzkrieg, get some Stormtroopers, get a Stu-42. He might actually use that in quite a helpful manner. But no such luck. I fear. And of course defensive, while helpful in holding what he has, isn't really helping in retaking it, which since he's probably going to be losing it very soon. On the other hand, the Allies are doing pretty well. In fact, now getting a tank depot up, 2 tank depots. I mean, really, they're just cementing the advantage and really just beating the Axis forces of the 5th Panzer Division with it, who clearly are stumbling and clearly out of the league. Oddly enough, you know, considering one of them is ranked 16. But then again, that's rather the problem with team games. I'm afraid, you know, you can't get a lot of players again who can sort of just magically appear at higher ranks than they actually are. Rather than charging in a small force right here. Grenades getting lobbed. MP40 still allowing the Volksgrenadiers to charge, and the Grenadiers actually don't die. The Volksgrenadiers just actually don't stop up. And let's just briefly pause. One thing to remember about submachine guns and all sorts of automatic weapons, like all weapons, they are much more accurate when the unit holding it is standing still. And you know, he could have stopped there and actually might be able to tear through the rifleman, but no, instead, now he might be losing some Grenadiers. And there we go, Grenadiers down. And these Volksgrenadiers in fact now need to retreat because they're now getting focused down, but no, Sisler might be losing those as well. Absolutely tragic. Pack 38 extremely exposed. Sniper firing away, could get rushed any second now.
We're ready to close with the enemy.
Mines being laid down by Stalin's Rector Hoven. This is good to see. Very good. There's also a medic bunker up. This is also good to see. And the Americans generally seem to be, you know, doing everything alright. The forces of the Wehrmacht, less so. Lots of forces climbed up in a small area and a grenade at them. And several went down. This was less than spectacularly good for the Wehrmacht. The 5th Panzer Division. Sniper firing away, misses. Grenade again at the German troops who are not standing still to be absolutely focused down. Rifleman goes down to sniper fire and they are forced away. Rifleman attacking the bunker and a Pack 38 nearby. Grenade going into the bunker. Bunker actually provides some protection against grenades, but enough bunkers and it will go down. Oh dear, the troops inside are getting shot up. Oh dearie me. Forces from ex-USSA are moving in to support. But this is not looking good at all. And this Pack 38 is gone. No more. This one is also getting exposed. And we're now seeing for the fatherland going up for Sisler. But something tells me it's not going to help. And an American sniper has now arrived. Protecting the mortar team. Oh dear. Mortar team. And a strafing run. Pinning down one team and forcing them away. Although the mortar does get cleared out. And ex-USSA seems to have lost all will to fight, almost. He has a medic bunker up as his own, though. Engineers getting shot up. Lots of mines from the Weasel and Stalin's Rechtehoven. This is very nice, you know. Getting ready to protect themselves against any sort of advances, making it much harder for the Wehrmacht to advance. And there we go, another mine. Absolutely lovely. And a huge contrast to what we're seeing from the 5th Panzer Division. MG42 getting charged, rushed with grenades. And MG42 team barely makes it out of there again. And now we are in fact seeing a Panzer Command going up for ex-USSA. Mortar up. Grenadiers pushing through there. Pack 38 forced to run away. In fact, the entire south is completely open now. But there's nothing to really take advantage of that. Grenadiers need to get moving faster. And now tank destroyers and Shermans are arriving. This is going to be quite the problem for the 5th Panzer Division, which is so far not a single panzer, just a panzer command. And more mines ahead. So absolutely many mines and not a single minesweeper on sight. This is just terrible news for the Wehrmacht. Panzer command almost ready. Though lacking in fuel, except for an Ostwind, and really an Ostwind is not going to help against a Sherman or a Hellcat. But clearly he wants an Ostwind instead, in saving to gather some resources from perhaps a Panzer IV, which could help against armor, but no. A full retreat again from Sislo, barely making any territorial gains in the south. And Bunker getting grenaded for no apparent reason by Stalin's Horden. Volksgrenadier is cleared out by the toll booth. Clearly the Americans were not keen. On the whole, Volksgrenadier is going saying, "You shall not pass, you Yankee swine." Sherman advancing. Pack 38 is in what you'd call trouble. That's certainly what the professionals call it. Getting outflanked, snipers, riflemen. And the Ostwind is ready, and it's going to find itself rather grossly outmatched. Out everythinged, in fact. Another attempt by Sislo, and a strafing run, tearing through this entire force, leaving behind only 3 men, and a field of death and wounded and blood and gore. This is not going well at all. The Ostwind, rather realizing it probably should have protected those infantry, sort of pull away. It could perhaps have had a chance to hit those airplanes, but for some reason it's been greatly nerfed in that regard, although not as bad as Commodore Heroes Online, where they couldn't actually hit any aircraft. Sherman moving in, hunting down the Ostwind. Ostwind not quite happy. Main gun gone and out of control. That was not good at all. And let us return to Sevisel. Victory points actually being secured by the Germans, quite interesting enough, but then again they're not really coordinating. Panzer flying this, and most of the Panzer equipped infantry is not moving in to support the other chap. And another strafing run, and again lots of clumped up infantry, but in this case they do retreat before it does too much damage. Small assault force moving in here, only a few wounded grenadiers, and a bunker at this stage of the war to protect that far away fuel point when there's other more important points to protect. Come on, ex-USSA, please show me at least you're not completely deserving our trip to the Eastern Front. But there you go. Sisler's forces have pretty much been shattered, broken, crushed, and other adjectives which somehow imply being beaten. MD-42 being forced away, a lack of anti-tank assets, only a few Pack 38s, and a lot of grenadiers for Panzer, of course another strafing run or something else, and Calipes might be called in. Pack 38's blasting away at the Shermans, actually doing a bit of damage. MD-42 pointing in the wrong direction. And a grenade right at this clump of infantry. Oh dearie me.
Begin armored operations.
And this MD bunker running into a bit of a problem since it's not meant to defeat Shermans. Something tells me ex-USSA's sort of situational awareness is not the greatest. A counter-attack by Sisler to aid his friend comes in. And they do force all that American infantry away, but there's still much more to go, and several Shermans still left. Interestingly enough, no Sherman Calliope. We are seeing for the Fatherland go up in a desperate attempt to hold this area. Grenadiers hunting down the rifles, Sherman getting ready to fire into this clump, into this German sea of targets. And the Calliope arrives. Sherman blasts away, and let's go and look at Stalin's Horden. Another strafing run could be used here for devastating effect, and I do believe we will be seeing it. And there we go. Lots of infantry pinned down, lots of infantry killed. Snipers now moving in. This is looking less and less well. And a Calliope rush right into the mess of everything. Sherman charges forward, Pack 38 crew getting blasted to tiny bits. And apparently some grenadiers trying to seize a victory point while everybody else is dying, and now they're dying as well. And for some reason, XUSA apparently still has the belief that the Austrian flak panzer can save the day. He's definitely wrong. In ever so many ways. But apparently he still has the conviction that he can win for some reason. And this despite the fact that most of the map has been lost. And once more the Ostwind runs into its nemesis, the Sherman. Panzers do a bit of damage, but not quite enough. More attacks, more Shermans. More Ostwinds going up in fire soon, I imagine. Pack 38 without protection. And there we go, lots of grenades on the Pack 38. Ostwind gone. And now the mortar itself is in trouble.
The enemy is down to 25 points.
This is not looking good for our friends. And the Axis forces, the 5th Panzer Division, has pretty much at this stage been outmaneuvered, outthought, outbeaten, and out everything else. Yet they still insist on throwing away good men and good material. This is not promising for when they get back to high command and have to explain their failure. Not at all. Medics getting shot down.
Supply lines are broken. We have territory cut off from supply.
Grenadiers right out in the middle of everything under heavy fire. Mortar left behind, not retaken by the Americans. Full Grenadiers finding themselves blasted into bits by the Sherman. Not looking good. Sniper opening up on the Grenadiers. Grenadiers need to get away, run! And no, wait, looks like one might make it away out of there alive. Or at least partially alive. And the Pack 38 decides to ignore the threat of snipers and decides to fire away at the Sherman right next to it. This is less than clever planning. And Riflemen decides to knock out a Pack 38 with the Panzer Shake they found.
Going after one of our munitions.
And not much going on in the respective Axis bases. Let us in fact speed this mess up a bit. Terror has in fact been chosen now finally by XUSA, and the Grenadier team got lost in seconds. And there we go, XUSA rather realizing what sort of trouble he's in, running away. So, there we go, a victory for the Americans, a loss for the 5th Panzer Division, a victory for the 13th Infantry Division. And of course, what can we learn from this? Well, of course, that's the high lesson of, well, if you're playing a 2 vs 2 and you're playing next to some guy who's rank 16, he might not actually be worth of the rank. He might actually be pretty terrible, as you just saw. And yes, indeed, I've played a lot of 2 vs 2s. In fact, I stopped as I rather realized, well, a lot of them were absolutely crap, who didn't know anything and clearly had never played a 1 vs 1 game, at least to a competent level. So again, that's very important. And of course, if you see one who immediately begins ordering around, just ignore him. In most cases, they don't know anything. Be polite, of course, but still ignore them. Of course, what else can we learn? Well, I mean, there was a major strategic fault. Of course, there was a major tactical fault right here. Of course, the use of MGs right next to here, where they couldn't really get some good fields, arcs of fire. The lack of actually manning that half track, but of course, there was the whole thing, you know, creating a very thin, long frontage, placing all of your defenses right out on the edge of it, rather where, you know, counts where your opponent can actually harass. There was also a lack of coordination between the two forces, which led to a rather huge open spot in between the two armies, which was brutally used by them. They, of course, just attacked at less, you know, the other side, which, you know, they felt like when you're attacking, which constantly left the Americans with the initiative, with the strength to do everything, and of course that was certainly not helped by XUSA going pretty much all support units for the most part, not using his infantry very well. And then of course getting only Ostwinds. And that was a pretty bad decision as well. Sisler did more alright, but he certainly had a lot of problems himself, picking the right type of cover and such. But there you go, I do sincerely hope you enjoyed this game. If you did, why not subscribe and tell your friends, and if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.